learning about ourselves is a courageous thing to do. And I think there's many ways for one to either begin or continue to explore that avenue. For myself, I just contemplated a bit about how I do that. And I think it's important to have different ways and methods of getting into that self knowledge. One of the most common ways that I do that is journaling, and just, writing paper and pen in the journal that I use. When I feel like a certain insight comes up that I feel like is important enough to jot down, it's great to utilize that. And I try to be more consistent with that method of collecting information about myself. But sometimes I'm not like really in the mood to write, at least on pen and paper. So I'll sometimes use a program online called Enso, ENSO. I'll try to link it in the description below. It's a great, great app to use. It basically just allows you to free write, and as you do so, your text will disappear. It just allows you kind of to stay in the moment and stay on top of wherever your thoughts are in that moment. It's a really helpful tool for me. I love using it. And then after you're done, you can output it into a file that you can save on your computer. So it's really nice and simple. So that's another way that I'll utilize self-awareness, and I'll find ways to access that part of myself. I will also use a notepad or Microsoft Word on my computer. Sometimes I just feel like typing more than writing. Um, Another way for me is YouTube. Like, I think this is another utilization for me of speaking in this way, of just spoken word, and knowing that this is a sharing platform that sometimes utilizes a different part of my brain and a different part of my self-awareness, my ability to be inquiring about myself. So it's kind of another way that I can get there. I also will record myself, just like a recording on my phone, just listening to recording my voice and then listening back to that. That'll be another way that I get to record and get in touch with myself and get a bit more of that self awareness. Also through written word like poetry and artwork. I also find that that's a way to learn about myself. And I wouldn't normally put it in this category of what I'm talking about here, of like developing self awareness. But when I think about it, it actually works quite well, because I think I learned a lot about myself and about, I would say, my fears and my desires and my interests in the way in which I approach artwork. So that's sort of like a wild card, but it actually is a way in which I kind of get access to this part. So I wanted to kind of share that today, and I just think it's interesting because I think there's different ways up the mountain, and I utilize each of these different methods to get to a similar place, which is getting to know myself better, and finding ways to access that self awareness where I can learn more about myself and hopefully integrate that more into my life, where I can learn and be a better person. I think that might be one of those overarching goals of why I find self awareness and self inquiry as a important thing to focus on.